And welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. We're here for another live video. Hope you all are well. Hope you've enjoyed your weekend. And I hope you're going to enjoy this conversation. Lots of topics to discuss. So I'm going to go with my first topic of discussion this evening. And I may as well start with the lady, the GWOAT, Claressa Shields. Congratulations. Another good win on your, at heavyweight now, 175. Is Claressa Shields that good? Or is the standard of the girls that bad that you can jump up from, like, I don't know, welterweight or like middleweight right up to heavyweight, virtually unchallenged? Is the technical skill set that good? Because there's Claressa and there's everybody else. I mean, just for example, like someone like Usain Bolt, don't like quote me on this, but Usain Bolt was like ahead of his time. When he used to run, there was Usain Bolt and everybody else. Like there was Carl Lewis and everybody else. That sort of leagues apart. There's Mayweather and then there's everybody else. Like at least with Mayweather, people think, wow, he didn't fight Paul Williams. He didn't fight Marcachito. What kind of a man are you if you can't fight no martial arts? I don't understand what that means. But yeah, so I don't know if it's a level of opponent that the standard of the opponent or the opposition, meaning, or just a general standard of boxing. I mean, who are teachers today? It means if a man don't train martial arts, I consider that man gay. Then okay, that's great to know, and it's brilliant to know. Yeah, so I mean, so is it the level of opposition or the standard of coaching? So like, obviously Claressa, when she was taught very well, and she's got skills to burn clearly. But it's like you having a university degree versus everyone who's got a college. You know, I'm just thinking myself. That this is what I'm talking about in terms of the the quality, the quality of the fighter or the coach. I mean, this is obviously one or the other in terms of like the quality of what I said about the university and the college. A lot of the fights seem to have just this college approach. That's what it seems to be. Hold on a sec. Is Hey, how we doing? You all right? Hold on a second. This one. I'm good. Hold on a second. I'm just gonna. We are gonna get this chat done tonight. It's very simple. Right, let's move on. Sorry about this. So we go. So whether it's the coach themselves or the quality of coaching, like coming from the college and university, the different levels. So I think that's really how good the coaches are today. Who were their coaches? Like, for example, if you had someone like an Eddie Futch or Emmanuel Stewart or, you know, a George Benton, you know, there are many great trainers out there. You know, if you had one of those trainers that were looking after you, obviously you've got trainers today that have got some input. Obviously, you've got Andy Lee, who had Emmanuel Stewart, who was around Emmanuel Stewart. You've got Jonathan Banks. You've got Sugar Hill. They were around Emmanuel Stewart, even if it was briefly. They were around Emmanuel Stewart. So they were able to gain from those teachers. But this next crop of trainers we've got today, you know, technically, are the trainers as good? Is there a gap in terms of the coaching and the mentorship and the fighters and what it takes to be a great fighter? Because you know what, Clarissa has done what all the other girls probably can't do, so that makes her, you know, exceptionally good, and you can't knock her for that. You know, whilst we're talking about Katie Taylor and we talk about Chantel Cameron and Amanda Serrano and her achievements and stuff, they're like, and their achievements have been great. But then when you put next to Clarissa Shields, Clarissa just like blows them away. So it's like, and then we have the conversation with Laila Ali, which is what I'm getting into now. Laila Ali, I said this in my short. Laila Ali, beautiful woman. I was fortunate to have, as I said in my short, I was fortunate to have Muhammad Ali's brother ask me to interview him. So I was fortunate to learn a lot about Muhammad Ali. Rahman Ali was the brother and the chief sparring partner for Muhammad Ali. So it was great to be able to get that type of historical truth. But he said he wanted to talk to me because he wanted to tell the truth about Ali's career and the stuff that there was a big thing about how Ali and his brother never got on, which was a lie. But anyway, so and in terms of that, also when I was out in Grenada, I was fortunate. My cousin, or my cousin, he owns a boxing gym in Grenada near St Paul's. It's the capital, St George's in Grenada, and in his gym, the first professional ring that Muhammad Ali boxed in, the matting, the ring is exactly the same as when Ali had his first pro fight. It's there in Grenada. And if you go back to the early days on this channel of Bayloric TV, you'll actually see me in the ring with Mr. Grant, going back years ago. And you'll even see me do some boxing coaching and tutoring with one or two, with a fighter out there. It was good. He was a heavyweight. Interesting, but good though. Anyway, so as for Layla Ali, historically she had her place in history, but she never fought Ann Wolfe. And Ann Wolfe was incredible. You'll see it on YouTube. She knocks out a girl who's tall like a basketball player. She hits her with one overhand right and lays her out flat. And Wolf, I always remember that they were trying to get Ann Wolfe and Ali in the ring together, and it never happened. I think if Layla Ali had beaten Ann Wolfe, I wouldn't have been so concerned about her legacy. But a lot of the girls that, no disrespect to Layla Ali, but a lot of the girls that Layla Ali fought were not very good. Honestly, they weren't very good. And I think Clarissa, there's nobody that Layla Ali beat in her time that would have beaten Claressa Shields today. I'm not the greatest Claressa Shields fan, right? But personality-wise, I'm not a fan of Claressa Shields. But in terms of the work that she does and has done, and for boxing, you can't knock her. And I don't think there's any girl that Laila Ali fought that Claressa wouldn't beat. However, there's a couple of girls on Laila Ali's that are on Claressa Shields' record that I would like to see how Laila Ali would have dealt with them. The first girl that comes to mind is Hannah Gabriels. That girl there can fight. I'd like to see how she would have done against Hannah Gabriel. I'd like to know how she would have done against Christina Hammer. I'd like to see how Laila Ali would have done against Savannah Marshall. Those three girls. There's others there, I'm sure, but those three girls, I'd like to see how Laila Ali would have done against those girls. Because I think all three of those girls are technically better. And of course, Claressa went through the weight class as well. So I'd like to see how she would have tackled those girls. It'd be interesting. I'd like to have seen that. My problem with Laila Ali is that she said if there was 15 or 20 million round, she would take the fight, or she would think about it. Or she said, I thought one of the dumbest things she could have said was because like we're in the era of if you name your price, there will be a suitor to meet it. This was the problem with Anthony Joshua. He said, if you get me 50 million, I'll fight Deontay Wilder. Well, the 50 million was found, and he was nowhere to be found. Are we going to have a similar situation here with Laila Ali? Laila Ali should have studied the landscape. She should have studied the landscape before she made that statement. Because now the landscape is, like I said, there's always a suitor to make it happen. And does Laila Ali come straight back and fight Claressa Shields? I just think that'd be one of the dumbest things to do. I think she needs warm-up fights. And again, if you have warm-up fights, this is the thing. This is why Crawford went straight from light middleweight straight to fight Canelo. When you have warm-up fights, what ends up happening is that people see your strengths, but they don't focus on your strengths. They kind of focus on your weaknesses. And then that makes it a harder fight to sell if you don't look good. See, when Crawford fought Madronov, he didn't look great in that fight. But so if he had another fight at middleweight and looked even more garbage, well, I'm not saying look garbage, by the way. If you look garbage at middleweight, nobody's going to say, I don't want to see him fight Canelo because he's looked garbage against this guy. That's what happened. So the Madronov thing is there, but it's like, he hasn't fought since the Madronov fight. Marketing-wise, it'd be better if he didn't fight Madronov and just jump straight to take the fight. Why? Because everyone say, well, he'd come off the Spence fight and he looked great against Spence, and now he's going to fight Canelo. And remember, originally, it wasn't going to be Crawford to fight Canelo now. It was Spence that was planned to fight Canelo. Had Spence beaten Crawford, he would have gone and fought Canelo. That was the plan. But anyway, so I've talked about, even though I was slightly disrupted, I talked about the state of boxing in terms of the boxing coaches today and the yesteryear, and whether we're getting better coaches now or the coaches are not as good, which means if they're not as good, then we're losing top quality fighters. Two examples we've got here already, even in the heavyweight division: Malik Scott with Deontay Wilder and Bling Davison with Anthony Joshua. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys there have not Ben Davison so much, but the tinkering with the different styles of AJ after Rob McCracken. They've more or less ruined AJ. He'll never be the same fighter again now, because obviously Andy Ruiz has got a lot to do with that. But yeah, the remodeling of AJ is a complete mess, because nobody knows what AJ is. Is he a puncher? Is he a boxer? What, is he Mexican style? What is AJ? What is he? Close to retiring. What is he? Wilder. So Wilder was a guy that was just trying to land the right hand. What do we end up getting? We end up getting a Wilder that wants to now try and be a scientist, and try and think about what he's doing. In the process, he loses the things that made him great and gets knocked out by Zhang, gets beat up by Parker, and 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 the things that he did very well against Fury, he couldn't do it consistently enough. Where he's trying to box, and that came from his trainer, that tinkered with him to the point where we have what we've got today in Deontay Wilder. And those two guys, Wilder and Joshua, could have probably gone down to be really great fighters, but because of the trainers that we have, they're not as good as they should have been in history. So we've lost on that. So, which leads me on to my next point. We've had the emergence of Turki Alalshikh, the Riyadh season, and some great fights have been made, fights that we would not have seen if it wasn't for Turki Alalshikh, which is fantastic. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm happy for that, right? You're not going to hear me complain about those things. However, when there's a red flag, I'm going to tell you about it. And I saw the first red flag. I heard the first red flag. I didn't hear it once. I didn't hear it twice. I heard it 3 times. Moses Itauma is a young prospect. That is what Moses Itauma is. People want to call him the next thing, the next heavyweight champion of the world. I'm not going as far as that, because there's a long way to go between that and becoming heavyweight champion of the world. The problem I've got here is that Moses Itauma hasn't gone beyond 6 rounds. Eventually, he has to go past 6 rounds. Even Mike Tyson had to go past 6 rounds, right? The greatest ever had to go beyond 6 rounds. So you have to get the caliber of position. The second thing is Moses Itauma hasn't knocked everybody out. I saw Moses Itauma. I don't know who the guy was. This guy was overweight. You go and watch the fight himself. And he was loading up big shots for this guy. And the guy wasn't going, no, he just wobbling from one side of the ring to wobbling to the other side of the ring. And the guy was throwing punches back as well. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, Moses Itauma couldn't get rid of this dude. Yeah, he was just standing there and just taking blows and throwing punches back. Moses Itauma couldn't walk through that guy, but he's going to expect it to walk through Dillian Whyte. Wait, let's go back and rewind that tape again and watch that guy. And he was throwing the same punches over and over again. And he was loaded up with shots, loading up bigger shots, loading up bigger shots, yet the guy wasn't going nowhere. So the guy went 6 rounds for Moses Itauma. That right there, for me, is my first red flag. Right there is my first red flag. Because you're not going in with a guy who's rated in the top 10, number 1 in the world. Yeah, I know he got beat by Tyson Fury, who's another level altogether. But everyone was saying you're going to walk straight through Dillian Whyte. Like, no. 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 It's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Hey, how we doing? EJ, how we doing, my brother? You all right? I don't think it's going to happen. I went back and looked at, because I remember somebody saying it. I couldn't remember where I heard it. There was some mumblings in the background about Moses Itauma, and the mumblings in the background was, yeah, he's all right if you give a blow him out in 1 or 2 fights, gets people out in 1 or 2 rounds, but he looked one-paced against this guy. So, and who's this guy? I went back to see Moses Itauma. This guy was way overweight. He looked like one of them security guards that are just a security guard because they're just fat, overweight, not because, and because they're just big and wide. Well, you've got some security in their fatness, if you understand what I'm saying. No, all due respect, right? But I looked at this dude and I looked at Moses Itauma fighting this dude, and I'm like, right. So this dude is throwing punches back at you, and he's throwing punches back in survival mode. He's not throwing them punches back in any mode to try and he's throwing don't hit me punches. And the guy's head's moving back and forth like this, like on the corner, hands up, and he's trying to wing punches back at Itauma. And I'm looking at this going, wait, this dude is going to be the heavyweight. Is going to future the heavyweight division. Listen, how many futures of the heavyweight division have we had? We had Robert Helenius. Remember David Price and Tony Bellew? Tony Bellew said that David Price was the future of the heavyweight division. But there was alarm bells, and the alarm bells came when he fought. What's this guy's name? Wasn't Matt Skelton? No, I remember saying Audrey Harrison would give Price problems, and people laughed at me. And yeah, Price did get him over, but who was it who ended up knocking Price out? Was it Tony was it Tony Harrison or Tony the Tiger? I remember what character he was. Tony the Tiger. You remember Tony the Tiger? Where did he disappear off to anyway? But yeah, Southpaw knocked him out. David Price twice. Experienced fighter versus David Price was banging everybody out. You remember that? So I'm not. For me, I haven't seen enough about Moses Itauma for me to say the guy's only gone 6 rounds. He's not gone past 6 rounds. Yes, Shook, how we doing, man? Good to see you, man. I have not seen enough of Moses Itauma for me to sit down and say he's going to be heavyweight champion of the world. There are some things you just cannot escape in boxing, right? There's the chin check, there's the heart check, there's the stamina check, there's the fighting at a pace check, there's the guy throwing punches back at you check, there's the you being under pressure when the guy's throwing punches, can you throw punches back? There's the when you're in trouble, do you know how to hold it together? Like, these are key questions to be answered. So, for example, we don't know what we're looking at Moses Itauma. You're looking at a chin. If that is a glass chin, right, then we know after he gets hit. But by then it's too late. By then, we've made all our predictions and that chin is not solid. We've got a problem. Laila Ali is 18 years off the couch. Many advantages, but in her most dangerous, in the first 4 or 5 rounds, she'll be stinging still has her power, which is the last to go. Yeah, lately, yes. Against who? Most them girls, I'm not joking. Most them girls, go back and look at the standard of girls Laila Ali who's fighting. Listen, I love Laila Ali. She is beautiful. Oh, she's beautiful. I mean, like, stunning. And but no, I'm sorry. And she's not going to hit Claressa them kind of shots. Because remember, Claressa is active and fighting. And she's not going to catch Claressa them shots. And the girls that Laila Ali was hitting them girls with, they didn't have the technical skills of... Claressa's got some good defensive skills in her, man. She does get hit, yeah. But everyone gets hit in boxing. But no, I don't see it that way. I just think that Claressa will shut the range down quickly on Laila and pop punches, and it'll be a war. It'd be absolutely raw, and Claressa will look to ragdoll Laila. No respect whatsoever. She'll just step across to her and put it on her. That's it. She'll just step to her. Do you know what I mean? I just don't see Laila Ali like, no, no. And I love Laila. For Claressa Shields, she needs to fight tomorrow to belt the girl on Katie Charles, Amanda Serrano, 3. She can fight. She's tall and rangy. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. No worries. I'll have to look at her, by the way. I think I'm going to have to do some, start talking some female boxers again. I might get into that again. I had a whole catalogue of female fighters I was talking to. I think I might start doing that again. Anyway, Back to my point, Moses Itauma. Like, here's my example about Moses Itauma for 1 second, yeah? Just hold me, hear me out a second. Do you remember when Amir Khan come out on the scene and he had all that fast hands and he was knocking people over? Oh, he's got fast hands. He's got punching power. He's quick. He's got fast hands. Like, oh, he's got the fastest hands in a welterweight or light welterweight division. Remember? And then he met Willie Limond and Michael Gomez. Remember them nights when Khan went down? For the first time, we discovered, hold on a second, this guy's chin is not what it's. He's got a bit of a chin problem, right? Remember Anthony Joshua, who was knocking everybody out, and then he got cracked on the chin by Dillian Whyte. Then he got cracked afterwards by Klitschko, and then he got cracked again by Ruiz, and that was it. Yeah, Khan got his chin cracked by Breeze Prescott. Remember that? And he got put to sleep. But before he got put to sleep by Prescott, he was getting dropped by Gomez and Limond. Yeah, so the writing was on the wall, but we didn't pay attention to it. Now, Moses Itauma had 10 fights, I think. He's gone the distance twice, and he hasn't gone past 6 rounds. That's it. So, in the normal world of boxing, we don't even talk about him on world title. Let me hold me out there. We don't talk about him on world title. So yes, Amir Khan constantly got hurt, but was able to navigate it with hand speed until he met Prescott, who had angle and managed the hand speed. Yeah, timing beats speed every time. Timing beats speed. So yeah, I've lost my train of thought now. Completely lost my train of thought because of that. So yeah, so then we understand their genetic makeups. So when you watch these guys fight, genetic makeups, and then we've got our savior of boxing, Turki Alalshikh, is now saying he wants to see a Talma versus the undisputed, undefeated cruiserweight, undisputed, undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, Oleksandr Usyk, who's gone the distance multiple times. This is ludicrous. This is ridiculous. We have to stop the rubbish. We have to stop looking at highlight reels of guys beating guys up that they're expected to beat up. If you go for there's a highlight video, it tells you the records these guys. Like these guys are like 5-2 or eight fights with like 10 losses. I'm like, is that what we are? The highlights, is that what we're puffing this boy up to be? No, 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 no. Moses Itauma, like lots of good British fighters, I fear is being rushed into world elite competition before he's built up and ready. Sheesh. Yes, this is my point. And boxing, we have got a colossal problem. And I'm telling you now, we have got a colossal problem. And I'll tell you what the colossal problem is Turki Alalshikh. Or we should call him Turki Alalbek. Turki Alalmaker fight. Yeah? Because that's what he's becoming, Turki Alalmaker DIY fight. Right? Turkey is becoming increasingly worrying. Increasingly. I don't know if they've cloned this guy and they've killed the real Turki Al-Sheikh and they've brought in a clone. Because this guy was talking about the history of boxing, the black heavyweight champion. Remember he came out, he was talking about Larry Holmes and all this stuff. He was talking some good, greasy stuff when he came through with first Turkey. Now, Turkey I'll take that fight, or Turkey I'll make that fight. It's now talking about Moses Itauma, a 6-fight novice, or no, a 10-fight novice versus the heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, a guy who's not. I mean, That's like comparing a guy that's played flight simulator, yeah, in his like in his pajamas in his house versus a guy that's bloody doing Top Gun. I, it's crazy. It is madness. It is absolutely dangerous. And the thing about all of this year is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. How can you not put Joseph Parker in the ring with Usyk, but you can put Moses Itauma in the ring with Usyk? I mean, think about that. This is the dude that's the savior of boxing, and he's got ridiculous amounts of money. And here's the colossal, the biggest problem is who keeps Turki Alalshikh in check? Who keeps that consortium from Saudi Arabia in check? Because they've got so much money, it's dangerous. Like, they can control the promoters, they can control the media. Are you not seeing this? They end up being a law unto themselves. If Turki Alalshikh told the British Boxing Board to control tomorrow, I want Moses Helma to fight Oleksandr Usyk. Forget your rankings. I want Usyk versus Itauma. I have to see that fight before Usyk retires. Are the British Boxing Board of Control going to say no? Think about it. Are the British Boxing Board of Control going to say no? Is Frank going to say to him, no, it's not ready for that fight yet? Come on. Even he himself has said publicly on TalkSport. What's going on my camera? Hold on a second. Even he has said publicly on TalkSport, listen, I don't mind. I'll fight Usyk, but this guy has gone 12 rounds, and I might be okay for the first 6 rounds, but after 6, I'm gonna get smoked. How am I gonna cope with a guy like that? And that's the fight himself telling you. Now I don't know. I just I don't. I've seen Moses Itauma make the same moves over and over and over again. Same combination, slip of the head, throw the combination. I've seen him do that and get away with that because nobody's cracked him back yet. What happens if he slips, moves, and walks onto a shot and he's timed by a slick or a crafty fighter? See, one of the things about Usyk that people keep missing about the Usyk fight with Chisora. Chisora was able to get on his chest, which made it difficult for Usyk because Usyk's not an inside fighter. Eastern European fighters don't naturally fight on the inside. They keep it long and they're good on when it's long. When you get up close in their chest, it's a problem. Tyson Fury can't get up in his chest because of his height and his reach. Joshua can't do it because of his bulk and his size. But now Joseph Parker, who's a little shorter, similar height to Usyk, be able to get on the inside and throw them little cheeky uppercuts and hooks to the very well. Joseph Parker's a problem. He's a problem for Usyk. I've said it already. A real problem. Yeah, sometimes Turkey is putting fights together like these are action figures. Is it the same Turki Alalshikh? I wonder if he's been cloned. I do wonder. I do wonder. I have to agree with you. It's getting crazy. How is he against Joseph Parker versus Usyk if it's the natural next fight? People will try to rebut by using this Leon Spinks Ali analogy, but that doesn't fit. Spinks was a decorated Olympian touted to go big in the pros. Yeah, that's true. I did use this analogy, by the way. People say that Ali, there's no way Usyk could be greater than Ali. But I threw this back at my guy today, David. Shout out to you, David, if you're watching. I threw it back at him. I said, would Alexander Usyk lose to an 8-fight novice in Leon Spinks? Yeah, it all goes quiet in the room when I say that. Turkey is trying to get the Ali track act overwritten. We've got a problem. I told you we've got a huge problem with this dude, this Turkey Al Maker fight. Hell, for the type of money being dished out, I would jump in there with that kind of money. I can get cleaned out, a control, and everything else I need. British Boxing Control will be more than okay with it and will kiss the feet while doing it. That's my point. Most of the time, I'm fighting Mike Bubblegum did nothing for him. Plus, dude was a NLF linebacker. He was already. There we go. So you know the guy, Mike Bubblegum. But Mike Bullock, Balogun, yeah. But forget Balogun. Balogun was a good diver, man. Balogun's a good diver. He knows how to get knocked out spectacularly. So it's the other guy he fought. He fought like a poor man's version of Butterbean, and Itauma couldn't get rid of him. And that is a concern for me. And he had this guy pinned up against the ropes. He was getting one arm out on the guy and fighting with the other hand. He still couldn't stop him. How the hell are you going to go and fight Oleksandr Usyk? And this is it. So you tell me who is going to check Turki Alalshikh? Who's going to check him? Who's going to check that conservative? He's going to say, no, no, mate, you can't do that. Who's going to check it? And if they go unchecked, what next? If Turki Alalshikh goes unchecked, if you can get a was it 8 fight novice or 10 fight novice? A 10 fight novice to go and fight Usyk, but yet Joseph Parker, who's the number one contender. And wait, when did a promoter start dictating to governing bodies who should fight next? Or is it the case that Turkey, is it the case that Turkey and his consortium have bought out the boxing organizations? Because he says he won't sponsor the fight. So wait, how are all these fights happening before Turkey? So if he decides I'm not sponsoring a fight, that means that me, the boxer, cannot fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. That's nonsense. So how can this guy? Yeah, money talks. I get it, but if he's already infiltrated the organizations and all the belts, WCA, WBA, IBF, IBO, he's not interested. So in theory, we could have them belts scattered again. We have a problem. We have a colossal problem. Boxing governing bodies no longer will adhere to what they should be doing. This fighter should be fighting this time. This guy should be defending his belt this time. Well, no, Turkey comes as now. That's not going to happen no more. He'll fight when I say he's going to fight. So now we have Joseph Parker who can't get a fight. Why can't he get a fight? Has he been blocked from boxing? And if so, and he's not allowed to fulfill his boxing obligations to feed his family, then who does he take the blame to? Even now, the sanctioning bodies are trying to strip Usyk of one of the titles. Guys don't rest. That's what I'm saying. You want, and before we know, we'll get guys fighting like slaves. We'll get guys fighting like every 3 months. No one. Turkey is unstoppable. No one gives a shit about belts no more. That is what I'm saying to you. We have got a colossal problem in boxing. A colossal problem. Do you remember when, yeah, in a more microwave? Do you remember back in the day when back in the day, when, bro, your comment don't make sense. Albanians are the best. What's that got to do with the price of fish? I don't understand, bro. You're saying Albanians are the best. I'm not understanding what you mean here. It doesn't go in line with what we're talking about. If we're talking about Albania or football, yeah, I get it, or whatever. We stay on topic, bro. I think Joe Parker is being punished for KO out, but KO and Bacoli. Yeah, yeah, of course he is. Of course he's been punished for that. But let's go micro for a minute. Micro, mini. Um, yeah, I do know Albanians. There's an Albanian fighter. What was his name again? Who was the Albanian fighter that fought the other day? Ah, oh, didn't he fight? I can't remember again. He fought Chris Congo, Albanian fighter, light welterweight. Somebody put his name up for me, please. Light welterweight, good fighter, heavy-handed. So of course I know Albanians. I've got Albanian friends in Wood Green, so yeah, I know Albanians very well. A lot of Albanian friends in Wood Green, actually. So anyway, back to my point. Um, um, where were we? Yeah. Do you remember when Eddie Hearn um, had match? We had Matchroom. He's still around now, but there was a big thing where a lot of fighters went to Matchroom. Do you remember? There was a big rush and Matchroom is the best place to be. Matchroom this, Matchroom that. Do you remember? Do you remember all that? Florian Marco, that's the brother. That's the brother, Florian Marco. Good. I'm glad you know him. But all the fighters were going to Eddie Hearn. Do you remember? And at the time, Eddie Hearn was like the best in sliced bread. Eddie's this, Eddie's that, Eddie's this, Eddie's that, Eddie's that. Do you remember? All that was going on. What happened? Eddie had so much power then. But yeah, he didn't case that anymore. That's changed. The 5v5 put that to bed. Their fights kept getting smashed to bits because they couldn't matchmake. And they got a reputation of not caring for their fighters, just caring for their back pocket as accountants. That's exactly what match was. And the 5v5 was a perfect example of that. So it's just now, what is Turkey's Alal make a fight? What is going to be his unique selling point? In other words, we know that when you go to Hearn, you'll get paid well, but you're going to get bashed up. You know, you go to Warren, but there are people who have complained about not getting paid, whatever, right? But you know that one will match you properly. One will match you fat properly. You know, show over substance. I've said this for years. I'm from London, so this is what it's. This is where we're at. This is where we're at. This is the problem we have, and if it's not kept in check, who's going to keep him in check? Who's going to keep him in check? Who would keep him in check? You can shut down media. Nah, you just can't keep him in check. Us. Well. Listen, the boxing fans are fickle, and the problem with the boxing fans are if we won't even protest at a judging, like a poor judging decision, like an injustice, if we won't even vote for that, we won't fight for that, then how the hell are we going to take on someone of Turki Alalshikh? It's what I'm saying. Irresistible money. Yeah. Every Albanian know each other. We don't have many people. Okay, cool. Good for you, brother. Um, please stay with the complete. This is a boxing channel. We'll talk in boxing, please. So thank you. Nice to meet you, brother. All due respect. Back to boxing. Irresistible money, mate. He's got the FU money. Nobody, nobody. That's what I'm saying. See, he is. So he is a he basically is the emperor. Remember I said to you, Turki Alalshikh will end up being the emperor. He's that guy that comes into the arena, and I remember we used, I don't know, a good example is when Hulk for, was it Thor? Maybe for Thor, I don't know, in that, uh, I don't know, Hulk and Thor movie, I don't remember what the movie was called again, Battle Hulk, or something like that. But anyway, when they went out to the stadium and fought, that's how boxing's going to become. The only thing that Turki Alalshikh hasn't done yet is have a throne, a chair, a throne, and a crown on his head. But other than that, you tell me. See, people in the chat, they're not serious. But we have a serious problem in boxing, and they're the first to cry when it happens. So I'm seeing it right now. And if Turki Alalshikh, or no, if Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn have been closed down and brought together, and they were fighting for years, there you go. Jake Paul versus Tank or AJ. I mean, it's ridiculous. How can you have Jake Paul versus Tank, or Jake Paul versus AJ? How are we having this fight? How is this possible? So it's just, and the people will pay for it because they bathe blood. They want to see Jake Paul get knocked out or see AJ finished. But these people who want to see this fight don't care for boxing. They care for curiosity. They're the curiosity campers. That's what I'm going to call them. Curiosity campers. What happens if? They don't care about boxing. What happens if I put this person ring? What happens? Oh, okay. So now we know what happens. Next, please. They're not boxing fans. They're curiosity campers. They're different. A boxing fan will understand the journey the fighters have been on, understand what it means for fighters to be getting their first world title shot. You follow them from British, Commonwealth, European. You see them from the amateurs. You see them come through the pro ranks. You know their life story or what. It's different. These people don't give a damn about the backgrounds of the fighters. They just have the names, put the names in a hat, and see them fight. Okay, fair enough, and move on. They don't care. Literally for entertainment purposes only. But there's no attachment to the fighter as such. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, mate, I went and saw Anthony Joshua fight Jake Paul the other night. Yeah, it was a good fight, innit? Jake Paul's one of the best fighters in the world, isn't he? Is he? Yeah, of course he is, mate. You see him the other day. He was on Netflix. He fought against Mike Tyson, mate. He beat Mike Tyson up. All right. See that Anthony Joshua got knocked out by the Dubois guy. You see, you know the conversation in the pub. Real casual conversation. What would happen that Jake Paul guy fights at Anthony Joshua? That's what I'm talking about. That's a pub conversation. That's a curiosity conversation. Think Hamza Shiraz, Turkey favourite boy, loaded his left hand wrap against Edgar Berlanga. I don't know. But what I do know, Berlanga got punched up, and ham wraps, loaded or not loaded, he would have got punched up the same way. He would have got punched up the same combinations. So if Hamza Shiraz was padded or had something in it, okay. But he wouldn't have changed the outcome. He would have still got punched up the same way because Berlanga can't box. Who said in it? Only the people, Mateus. Trubosky. Okay. So those are my thoughts on that. I think we've got a problem. So boxing people that are in a room, Andre, Shook, talk to me. What are your thoughts? Who can keep? I mean, even the boxing boards, Turkey's got them all in one hand because everyone wants to get paid. It will be interesting to see what happens to individuals who speak up against Turkey. Hi, Andre Galotta, Poland boxer. What about him? The fact that he had a mental breakdown against Mike Tyson. The fact he had a mental breakdown against Lennox Lewis, but he fought like a king against Riddick Bowe twice. Like just kept throwing low blows. What about Andre Galotta? What do you want to tell me? The fact he got knocked out in a round by Lennox Lewis. The fact he refused to fight Mike Tyson, or the fact that he threw low blows against Riddick Bowe. Yeah, interesting fights. Um, you've already seen it happen with Tio. Well, yeah, but what? Yeah, I know, but Tio's got money, and to some degree, Benavides was talking some stuff about signing with the devil. He signed with. He's with. He started working with Turkey very quickly. Tifim Lamasiana. So this is what we have here. And nobody's going to talk about these conversations I'm having with you now in boxing like this. They won't. They won't because everybody is going to want that Turki Alalshikh money. Everybody wants to now be on their own. And by the way, another prophecy, another prediction came to pass. What did I tell you about YouTubers being on boxing fight nights? We now seen a host of them now being on television talking boxing. Yeah, and their stuff being shown on the zone. So we're seeing it. We're seeing it right before our eyes. We're seeing it right before our eyes. So, and one more person I want to talk about, Dave Allen. Dave Allen's gonna fight. What's his name? That ugly bloke. He's gonna fight him. The 7 foot tall, useless guy. He's gonna fight him. Dave Allen's scared of him. Do you know why Dave Allen's fighting him? Well, because when you knock out, if Eddie Hearn puts you with a fighter, and you expect to lose against that fighter, and you go out there and you smash one of his favorite fighters up, do you know what he ends up doing? He'll stick you in a fight. He's put you in a fight that he doesn't think you can win, and he puts you in a dangerous fight. You're going to get knocked out, or see you get knocked out, or at least try to see you get knocked out. That's what Eddie does. You watch Eddie carefully. Do you remember Ryan, who used to be on BWTM Sports, and he got a win against Laws? He he stopped Laws, and because he stopped Laws, then he went and put him in fights that he couldn't win, or put things against him. So yeah, I expect it to happen for Dave Allen. So expected it. That is why you have one of the best boxing channels on YouTube. Period. Well, do I? I would have said that to you maybe 5, 10 years ago. Done about now. I'm just I'm just putting the content out there. I'm just putting my thoughts out there. Listen, I'm just seeing things as I see them. I'm saying it as I see it. I don't have any vendettas or agendas against anybody. I just see it for what it is, and I'm going to tell you the truth. And as Talksport now become what they call it, the judges of boxing, have Talksport with Simon Jordan, Spencer, what's his name? What's his Spencer? What's his name? Oliver Spence, What's the other guy? Gad. What's his name? Gareth A. Davis. Have these guys become the um, the go-to people for boxing? I, I mean, yeah, watch things like that. Yeah, I'm watching things like Talk Sport is, and we saw what happened when Talk Sport kind of got out of line and started talking about Tyson Fury and start asking questions of Tyson Fury. Will Simon Jordan be as cavalier in his questioning if Turkey starts to do things that are unfavourable or unchecked? Yes, it is real boxing talk over here. I really appreciate it, brother. Please do share the channel. I appreciate it. Is are we? Are they going to get checked? Listen, here's a guy I know that's no nonsense, Larry Hazard, right? I need to give Larry Hazard a call because he's with the Nevada State Boxing Commission. He's like no nonsense, Larry Hazard. He is no nonsense, like spade a spade. But now, will Larry Hazard allow Turki Alalshikh to infiltrate there? Because it's a boxing board. So we know now for sure he's infiltrated the boxing promoters. He's got them under his grasp. He's infiltrated the Ring magazine. He's got that. He's infiltrated the organizations. He's probably infiltrated the media. Let's say Turki Alalshikh decides to buy Talk Sport. Do you see where I'm going with this? He decides to go and buy up Sky Sports. They've got the zone at the moment, but just imagine. Just imagine for a second. When you've got that sort of power, who is going to stop you? And are we going to go back to the back in the days where coloured fighters couldn't fight? They weren't allowed to fight because if you start to cut out slick boxers, you know who we're talking about right now. When I talk about slick boxers, super slick, we talk about Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, and then let me go one step further. Guys like Floyd Mayweather, where would they fit in this era? Would Floyd be considered running or boxing? Rupert Murdoch wants us guy is a ruler. Yeah, he's a ruler. There's rulers and there's rulers. He's a king, right? He's all right, Murdoch, but there's kings. I don't think Murdoch money can touch Saudi money. I don't. I don't. I don't. Well, listen. He's just knocked the heads of Hearn, Warren, De La Hoya, Aaron. He's put their head together. Put their head together. Just one good slap. Pow! Come together. Oh yes. Yes, Turkey I'll make. Yes, Turkey I'll make. Yes, Turkey I'll make. Yeah, yes. Frank. Yes, Eddie. Yeah, we've got to get fights to happen. That quick. And those men are rich. And they're not wealthy. They're rich. They're wealthy. They're wealthy. You tell me what it is that Turkey's done to get them two guys together. Don't tell me you got them just talking. What has he done? What sort of plan, what sort of authority did he go in there with to get those two guys talking? Don't know. Big up Ingram in the chat. I have a question. Guy, ST asked a question. Go on, ask me. When are we going to get a next game of FIFA? So I just, the more I think about this, the more I think that boxing has been taken over by one man. I mean, think about the amount of money that the Hearn and Warren have brought together collectively. So even if they brought their families together, they still can't compete with Saudi. You're reaching a bit with a little bit. Shaka's doing some fights, fake fights. These guys are not trying to take his head off for real. And Devin Haney has bill paying of judges and referees. I'm not reaching a bit, bro. I'm not reaching a bit at all because he's talking about. Look, he's just saying, look, Joseph Parker's not fighting. Why is he not fighting? What's the reason he's not fighting? Teofimo Lopez has got issues. Why is he not fighting? Martin Bakoli's not fighting. Why is he not fighting? Why are these guys all suddenly not fighting? Is there a Turki Alalshikh rule? Is they have to wait till Riyadh season comes round? Is the schedule no longer the schedule of the promoter and the manager, but now the schedule is Riyadh season? Think about that for a second. Do you think, what do you think has compromised Turkey? He started off with the most amazing boxing opinions. Now he's just up Itauma's ass and spouting nonsense about Jake Paul as well. I told you, they may have replaced him. You're cloning all you're looking at now. He might not be the real Turkey. The other Turkey might be back in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I don't know. But he's not the same dude. How can you vastly change unless you're a snake? Unless you're always a snake, then that way the skin is starting to show. It's either that or he's been infiltrated by idiots. Because you know that as soon as he's been infiltrated by idiots. I mean, it's one or the other. Just saying. Yeah, it's not a worry. It's not a problem saying, bro. But I don't think I'm jumping a bit at all. These guys are not fighting. So I look at situations and I don't turn a blind eye to them. Turkey is Turkey is Eddie Hearn of Saudi Arabia, amazing salesman, and that has got us all by the balls. He has. Very good point. And TL saved that Times Square card. Everyone else underperformed. Yeah, they did. And I told you, Turki Alalshikh is like the emperor that comes to the fights as like back in the gladiator day. That's what it is. That's if you look at Turki Alalshikh that way, then it gives a very clearer picture. How can you come into boxing and talk about the historical facts of boxing? Larry Holmes had a great jab and blah 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 blah. Talk that stuff, and now we're down here talking about Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. How did we? Something must have come in between the logical thinking and the maniac. What is it? What is it? Bakali will fight on Saudi cards now. Look how much they paid him to fight Parker on short notice. He won't fight any other cards. Another thing we have to be careful of. When you've got if you've got biased and you've got favorite fighters, you can't see them for who they are. So Bakoli is the boogeyman in their eyes, the investors. To me, I told you he's no damn boogeyman. I told you he's no boogeyman. He's still suffering from Michael Hunter problems. He's no boogeyman, Bakoli. I've said he's no boogeyman. And I don't know who was in Bakoli in the boogeyman story, but Josie Parker came and punched that boogeyman out of Bakoli. So now they've got to rebuild Bakoli because Bakoli went to America and he punched up Jared Anderson, remember? So Bacoli built his brand of beating up Anderson. And then what was expected to happen was Bacoli meant to come off a flight from Africa, coming to fight Josie Parker and knock Josie Parker out. Was that meant to happen? Was that the script? Because then Bacoli would have been almost invincible if he did that. Think about that for a second. What did they expect Josie Parker to do? Lose the fight against Buck? Let's say, for example, this is all being wired up here, and the reason why Josie Parker's not fighting now is because he knocked out Martin Bacoli. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened in boxing, would it? It wouldn't be the first time it's happened in boxing. There's incidents where guys have gone on and not gone according to the script, and then they've not been able to fight for world titles, or they've been delayed fighting for world titles. Cash money for him now until he retires. Yeah, but the thing is, the mentality. Are you these guys that he's favoriting? Are they actually great fighters, or are they going to end up getting smashed all the time? Polly had an interesting point where he was saying that he believes that Turkey is wait for all these fighters' contracts to expire, then he can lowball them fighters in new contracts. Yeah, makes sense. Makes absolute sense. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree with what Paulie said. Why not? Why not? It's not sustainable to be paying these fighters all these amounts of money, especially when they're fighting like crap. It's not sustainable. So yeah, you lowball them. You pay them well now, look after them, and then when their contracts run down, then you pay them less money, but you make more money off them. Makes sense? Yeah. Well, look, it would also make sense for the character because the character of Turkey talked about Larry Holmes and all this stuff, and the history of boxing. Now my man's talking about the truth about Jake Paul versus Tank, or Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, or Itauma versus Usyk. That's the real Turkey right there. The cash money, I think I did address it. Cash money for him and now until he retires. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Bacoli's management have done an amazing job for him. He's been a crack boxer, but has been built up as an incredible. Got respect him for it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I told you, yeah, above that one. Okay. Look, Bakali when he fight on Saudi cards now. Look now how much I paid him to fight. Park on short notice. He won't fight on any other cards. Yeah, it's true. So he's made the turkey money now. For how long? Because when Bakoli's contract comes to an end, what happens? I went back when they, I went back when Turkey said he wants to get rid of all promoters. Yeah, I told you that. I told you. I told you what's going to end up happening is one belt, one champion, one. I also said that all these promoters are going to go, and what will end up happening is these promoters will be feeders, and they'll feed fighters into the World Cup of Boxing. So I've said it already. I've told you what's going to end up happening. So we have one face, one name, world one champion, as the whole Muhammad Ali idea was. The undisputed belt. They've told us what they're going to do before they do. They've shown you already the plan. But Coley is a good fighter. But what makes him a good fighter? Who's he beat as a good fighter, bro? You can't beat Michael Hunter. You can't beat Michael Hunter now. But Coley fights his face. He's not a good fighter, bro. I judge a fighter by his defense, his defense, his attack, his boxing IQ. They say Coley's intelligent. If he was intelligent, he wouldn't fight with his chin up in the air and he wouldn't stop punches with his chin. That's why he got knocked out by Parker. Put his chin in the air. Why'd you do that? As an informed boxing expert, do you think that the Saudi cards actually make money or are they cash burners? But the bigger picture is to promote boxing, to promote the country more. I think it's now, at the moment, I think it's we're investing, we're investing, we're investing. And we're going to get our money back because when all these all these fighters lose contracts start to go down, or their contract expires, they're gonna be like in football, free transfers. And you know how everyone ran to, because I've seen how people ran to DAZN and Eddie. So they know the fighters will run. And they know that Turkey's got a reputation. So they'll all run towards Turkey. Turkey will be like the Messiah. And they'll be like sheep going into a cage. All right? They know the cage at first. They think, oh, it's Turkey. They're coming to the palace. And they think they're coming to open a golden door. And as they go for the golden door, they're right there to get electrocuted. I'm telling you, they've got to find a way to recoup the money. So you recoup the money by lowballing fighters with little money to their careers. They don't get the money they were getting before, but they get the way they make their money is on the bonuses on knockouts. So, and the percentage of, well, if these guys are matched in big fights and high fights against high profile, the knockouts may be less. Not every fight will end up a knockout. So they make their money back. Still personally think no matter what we say about Turkey and his new opinions, Saudi do for a fact make the best cards. Yeah, he's got good punch. He's got good punch variety, Broccoli. The punches that he throws and the punches he gets hit with. Yeah, that's the variety. He's not durable, man. He's not. Broccoli's not durable, man. He's not durable. That's a myth. How's Michael Hunt is stepping up and punching you up? Michael wasn't a heavyweight. Michael was a cruiserweight. He can't almost like punch up Broccoli. He punched Broccoli up so much upside his head. Broccoli was sitting on the corner saying, I don't want to be here. Why am I here? Yeah. Remember that? Forget Broccoli, man. No. Forget Broccoli. Forget Broccoli. Broccoli will never be an elite heavyweight. Never. Never. Well, he won't. Well, actually, he's a good fighter. But okay. He looks a good fighter, but he's got no defense. I've said it before. Right, let me get out of here. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments as always, people. I really appreciate it. Make sure when you go to the subscribe button, make sure you hit the notification bell to all. I am out of here. It's been a good one. Appreciate you all. Much love. Take care.